And we are live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Niki Lopez of Niki Lopez Creative, and you're watching The Circle, where every first and third Tuesday of the month, I'm talking to artists, activists, social entrepreneurs, people doing great things in the world today. And today I have a very special guest and friend, artist and activist, Loni Johnson. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nikki.
Yes,
So
yes,
happy to
yes.
be here.
Oh my God, yes, indeed. Finally.
Yes, finally. But
Yes.
when it was time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Loni is an artist, a mother, a community advocate. I'm just going to quickly share a little bit about Loni. Loni Johnson is a multidisciplinary visual artist born and raised in Miami, Florida. I didn't know that about you. Awesome.
Born and raised in the county of Dade. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Johnson is an artist, educator, mother, and activist that understands that as artists, there's a cylindrical obligation, obligation to give back and nurture our communities with her creative gifts, and it must be utilized to better our world. Loni Johnson explores creating healing spaces for Black women through an exhibition of movement and ritual. Johnson's performances and installation works are to reconnect and reactivate our ancestral memory, which allows us to reimagine how we see ourselves and reclaim our spaces. Through her practice, Loni explores how her practice affects her awareness, existence in spaces, and the investigation of how she claims and navigates through spaces, especially focusing on spaces that lack accessibility to her people, her communities. Through her work, the artist wants to represent how ancestral and historical memory informs how, when, and where we enter spaces. That
Yeah,
is a lot.
it is a lot. It's
Yes,
funny,
yes,
like
yes.
reading your bio, you're like, oh, that's a lot. But
I
then it's not.
know, and I don't always do that, but I think
Hmm.
sometimes it's important because we can't get everything right. This is just an introduction. I want people to go research you, look up your stuff, and get to know you. But sometimes it is important because we need to hear that. Everybody need to hear that. So
Yeah. It's important to me.
yes.
Really thinking about like how I occupy space as a Black woman, and then how I can create space for other Black girls and Black women. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because I think once I began to grow more comfortable in how I enter spaces, then I can then kind of set the groundwork for other Black women. You know what I mean?
absolutely. We have another artist online, T. Elliott, the Justice.
Yes, the Justice League. Nice. That's what
That
we
is
call our
awesome.
crew.
That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
So just jumping in, I know there's a lot to cover, and we'll see how much we could get through. What was your start to your creative journey?
Whew. Okay. Well, just always kind of being that the Black weirdo girl, you know what I mean? And just trying to like figure out what that was. And my mom was an artist, but she wasn't necessarily allowed to practice. So it was great that she kind of allowed the space for me to be that creative weird Black girl. But I think that art was always a way for me to express myself, whether it's through drawing or painting or sketching, through fashion. And so it just was always a place where I felt safe. you know um I wasn't always the most confident child growing up, because I was really self-conscious about being a dark-skinned Black girl, and made to feel like there was something wrong with me because of the color of my skin, from folks that look like me and from folks that didn't look like me. So it was like really difficult trying to navigate that space, and I felt like art was a way for me to feel safe, you know. So I've been doing it pretty much all of my life, going the art school route. I've been going to art school since middle school. ended up going to New World School of the Arts, and then going to SUNY Purchase to receive my bachelor's in fine art in New York. So it's kind of, if you would ask me like maybe 15, 20 years, like what I would be doing, like I definitely would not have told you what I'm doing now. So it's just really interesting how your creative journey kind of just, you just kind of walk in it, and nothing's really infinite. I mean, or definite, and you just kind of just trust and just keep pushing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've always saw my work as something more than just being in the gallery or in the white cube. Like I saw really early that my art was something that could bring people together, because like even as early as middle school, right? Like having my friends, hey girl, can you know, back in the day, like drawing the names, like the bubble letters and stuff like that, like doing that for my friends, and like, you know, making like hand making fashion magazines, and like designing outfits for my homegirls and homeboys. Like that's always been something that was like a connecting
Mm-hmm.
thing for me with people, you know, and then seeing that my drawings brought them some sort of joy. Like I always knew that in hindsight that my work was more than just about aesthetic or it being in a gallery, or it's more about bringing people together or connecting with folks, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
When you said about the bubble letters, I don't know if it was before or after your time, but did you get the like the S where they have the three
Oh
line
yeah,
this
you gotta have
line?
the S. You gotta have the S with the three lines at the top and the three lines at the bottom, and then you connect the first one to the middle, the middle bottom one. Yeah, no, you had to have the S. I figured out how to make my own jazzy S, so that's how it became even more popular in middle school, because I would jazz it up. Like I was able
Yeah.
to like add value and shading, so people were like, "Oh, she know how to do that S." So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
What does advocacy mean to you, and how do you explore that in your work and practice?
Again, it's about, you know, using, like you read in the bio, like I really feel like as artists we have an obligation to speak for those that can't speak for themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
we have an obligation to speak up. We have an obligation to be the voice of the communities that we stand in. So I really think that that's important, to use your art as a way to speak for folks, speak up for folks, to connect folks, to help people see themselves. I think that the reason why art was such an important a part of me coming up was that it helped me see myself. You know, it helped me see who I am, and kind of like confirm and ground me in who I really was. And I think that it's important for me to use my art, if I can, to do the same for folks, um, and be that point where they can see themselves. Yeah,
Mm, yes,
yeah,
yes, absolutely. And
yeah.
just taking a moment, we're live on a couple of places. We're live on Facebook in Niki Lopez Creative, the 1310 Gallery, and the group The Circle. If you're in the group, I cannot see your name when you post a comment, so just add it there. We're also live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And by the end of the week, this will be available on your favorite podcast. So definitely catch it, share it, invite people into the live chat, or have them listen to the replay.
We out
Um,
here. We out here.
Ouch, yeah, exactly. Putting it out in the interwebs. One of the things, I sometimes kind of go to where people are like, oh, I'm frustrated with Facebook. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. But I'm like, well,
Right.
everyone with a cell phone, you get to create what you want to see instead of
That part.
complaining. Like, yeah, exactly. You got I got artist friends, creatives, what you're doing. We have the ability like no other time in history to be able to put out what we want to see in the interwebs and
Right.
connect to other people who want to see something different.
Yeah, and
So,
there's power in that. The fact that we can control that. The fact that you have control over what you see and what you put out. Like that's powerful. That's
mhm,
powerful, you know.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
We have Dion. You are so dope. I'm feeling your entire vibe. But bubble letters were not to be played with.
Not at all, Dion. I'm telling you, it was not a
Yes,
game. It was not a game. Like
yes,
I had people
absolutely.
just like, I made new friends because of
Mhm.
the whole bubble letter movement.
Yes,
So
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We have Neri Street, Narissa. My
Yes.
faves. Aw.
Ah, Neri.
Thank
Yeah,
you for being here.
for
Yes.
sure.
How do you create healing spaces, and why is that needed specifically for Black women?
Because nobody listens to us. There's not space for us. Like, we carry a lot. There are a lot of things that we are expected to do. And there's no room or grace for Black women in our society. There's
Mm,
no space for us to grieve. There's no space for us to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. There's no space for us to heal. So I feel like as a Black woman, and art is such a powerful thing. Again, it's my responsibility to consider how I can provide that space.
mhm,
Every time a Black woman or Black girl um walks into one of my installations or comes to one of my performances, I want them to be able to be like, oh, I see myself there. Thank you.
mhm,
You know what I mean? I feel safe here. I belong here. So it's vital at this point. Our society continues to, not listen, not support, not nurture Black women, and we're shunned a lot. So it's only right for me. That's all we got. All we got is us. So I have to. It's a part of. It's like my duty. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like I have nothing else but to provide space for us.
mhm. And I think that's a great segue to kind of show. We have a little clip. Do you want me to just play the clip, or you want to set it up first and then I play the clip?
So this performance that you're about to show the clip of is from a performance that was created by myself and uh, uh, another artist that I used to collaborate with, Hattie Mae Williams and Jadelle McPherson. We created this piece called Offerings, and thinking about again Black women and how we have to continue to hold space for everyone, but who holds space for us? So
Mhm,
thinking about that, and at the performance, it was done at a park that is, not too far from where I live, and unfortunately, that park has been plagued a lot with gun violence. So we were also thinking about, like, Black women in our communities having to deal with losing their lovers and their fathers and their brothers and their cousins and their sons, and still having to hold it together.
mm,
Not giving the space to grieve that they have lost somebody that was near and dear to them, but just having to just kind of, still pick up and keep going and continue to hold space for everybody else. But again, kind of neglecting their own healing in order to heal others. So just
mm,
thinking about all of these elements and incorporating the three female spirits from the Yoruba, Oya, Oshun, and Yemaya, as a way to kind of bring in this idea of healing, but also support, and letting us know that we not by ourselves. We hold space for each other. So how can we tap into this idea of the feminine divine as a way of healing and support for us as well. So yeah,
absolutely.
this
All right.
performance, it changed the game for me. It kind
Nice.
of set the bar of what my performances and installations have to be. So
Okay. So I'm
yeah.
gonna roll the clip.
poem about my rights. Even tonight, I need to take a walk and clear my head about this poem about why I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture, my gender identity, my age, my status as a woman alone in the evening, alone on the streets, alone not being the point. The point being that I can't do what I want to do with my own body because I am the wrong sex, the wrong age, the wrong skin. I suppose it was not here in the city, but down on the beach or far into the woods, and I wanted to go there by myself, thinking about God, or thinking about children, or thinking about the world, all of it disclosed by the stars and the silence. I could not go, and I could not think, and I could not stay there alone as I need to be alone because I can't do what I want to do with my own body, and who in the hell set things up like this? And in France they say, if the guy penetrates but does not ejaculate, then he did not rape me. And if after stabbing him, if after screams, if after begging the bastard, and if even after smashing a hammer to his head, if even after that, if he and his buddies fucked me after that, then I consented and there was no rape because finally you understand. Finally they fucked me over because I was wrong. I was wrong again to be me being me where I was. Wrong to be who I am, which is exactly like South Africa penetrating into Namibia, penetrating into Angola. And does that mean, how do you know if Pretoria ejaculates? What will the evidence look like? The proof of the monster jackboot ejaculation on black land?
Santísimo, ay madre mía, de la claridad, ayúdanos, ampáranos.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was need a moment. I agree, Neris. And I got chills watching the rain during the performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tadic on YouTube, fire.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my dad plays tennis at that park. And a few years ago he witnessed a young man take his last breath at that park because somebody put a bullet in his head.
Mm.
So that park needed some healing. That park needed some cleansing. So the rain was just and
Mm.
here's the thing, like when you're doing this type of work, there's these serendipitous, for lack of better words, things that occur. Like people ask me, "Oh, did you plan for the rain?" No. How can I plan for I wish I could take credit for planning the rain, right? But that rain needed to happen to kind of and nobody left, Nikki. Like people at the park, one or two people might have been like, "Oh, girl, this rained too much," but people that came to watch the performance, they did not leave. They held the space with us in that rain, and the rainbow coming out at the end, and it was really special because my dad was there, and my dad kind of isn't the artsy guy, and to have him still talking about that performance to this day, it's really, really special. And I think, again, for other family members to be present there as well, because as a creative, your family gets used to you kind of doing the same type of work, or the work that they like the paintings, the drawings, that you know what I mean, like so to see them embrace this new form of work, you know what I mean, because performance and installation is something that I have started to do in the past maybe 8-10 years now. So in the beginning of it was kind of uh I wasn't sure about doing it, but to have them kind of give me that nod of like, yes, girl, okay, we get it, we like it, it was really comforting. But that day, oof, that day was special. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I want to definitely highlight something you just said about being unsure and doing it anyway.
yep,
A lot of times we have these ideas and then we play it down,
yep,
and or like when we're ready, because that was used to be on my thing. Oh, painting, and I wanted to do some sculptures, and I'm like,
hmm,
do I take a class? But you have to be able to push through that, because
yeah,
that's where the journey is, where you grow. And like, look at this, 8-10 years later, and you've
yeah,
evolved, and this is like now a staple part of your practice.
right, right.
Mhm.
And to keep it 100, like it's sometimes beyond us, like it's not even about us, so we
Mhm.
have to do it and
Mhm.
just trust that it will be done because we have to do this. You know what I mean? It's like it's higher than you, it's bigger than you. So it's just like you gotta trust and just go. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a question from Neri Street. Lani, your work is always taking up and transforming spaces. What are your favorite spaces, and how else do you care for yourself?
Ooh, child. Okay, I can answer that first one. The beach, you know, and you know where else? And these three places are like really important for my practice, but also like three of my favorite places. Beauty supply stores. Listen, I love beauty supply stores. I have always loved beauty supply stores. It is something they are sacred spaces. Like don't let nobody tell you that a beauty supply store is not a sacred space.
Mm.
So beauty supply stores, botanicas, of course, and then dollar stores. Like those three places, and they're significant for my practice, but also for community. You know what I mean? Like in our communities, like they are the staples. Like you're going to find those three things for sure as like resource in our communities. So just being able to access those three places, like it just brings me so much joy. Like I was just at the hair store, when was that? Saturday, because I had to get my hair rebraided on Sunday. And
Hmm.
and then Shire came and we just literally just chopped it up in the braiding hair aisle, just talking, you know what I mean? Talking about the hair, but also just catching up because I hadn't seen her in a while. So this like, and then connecting with the girls that work there and like it's just this way of connecting with Black women in this space. Like it's a sacred place. You know what I mean? And just sharing stories and like even if you don't talk to each other, it's just like that nod, like, "Hey, girl, what you getting?" Like this unspoken. It's just this very special place. So that's definitely one of my favorite places on the planet. Now, what do I do for care? Woof. Well, Neri, I'm still working on that. I think I am getting better at it. Um, just sitting down somewhere, just knowing when to sit down.
Mm.
Rest. I'm
Yes.
telling you, one significant thing that this Corona times taught me was sit down
Mm-hmm.
and really thinking about like, why am I busy? Why am I always on the go? Like, why am I always ripping and running? Like, am I ripping and running because these are things that I want to do? Or am I ripping and running just because I got to rip and run? You know what I mean? So I had to really think about that. So this idea of just sit down, be still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that that's really, and just being intentional in that is starting to be a form of care for me.
Mm-hmm. I totally relate as someone who just woke up from a disco nap.
Yep,
I had a long day. So I'm like, okay, wait, I gotta,
yep,
and sometimes I do that. I catch myself because sometimes I have to say, am I working or am I busy? And if I'm
right.
busy, why? Is it, and yeah, and knowing,
Yep.
knowing to rest.
Know the
Absolutely.
difference. It's the difference because I really noticed that I was just ripping and running because I was trying to rip and run from things that I didn't want to necessarily face too.
That part.
Because we do that a lot. Like, let's just stay busy so we don't have to think about some things. And I had to really sit with that. It's like, oh, you're being busy because you're trying to escape thinking about this, or you're
Mm,
being busy because you're trying to not actually do that. You know. So
mm.
having to face that and sit with that has been some recent shadow work, right?
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
Yes,
yep,
absolutely.
yep.
And this question, I saw it, but I missed it earlier when you were talking about creating spaces. DJ Boomy was saying she agreed. We take on so much, and it's hard to create the space just for us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
mhm.
yep. Because we have this, we've been fed this narrative that we have to do it all. We got to
Mm,
be strong for everybody. We got to do it, we got to hold space for everybody. But again, like I said earlier, who's holding space for us? You
mm-hmm.
know, who's
Absolutely.
there for us when we're not okay? And then giving ourselves permission to not be okay,
Mm,
giving ourselves that permission. We're not allowed to give ourselves that permission to be like,
mm-hmm.
I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we just been like, girl, I'm all right. I'm all right. And knowing damn well you're not all right. So
Mm,
what's wrong with saying, I'm not okay? I'm not all right, girl. You know,
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
you got to do
I
that. And there
use
has
vanilla.
to be space
It's
for
hard
that.
to be- Yes.
It's got to be space for that. We
Mm-hmm.
have to have space for that because you got
Mm,
to feel comfortable enough to do that. You got
mm-hmm.
to feel safe enough to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
Mm. Yeah.
got to do it.
I saw something, poet May Rain, she had posted something, a repost, and it says something about in order to heal, you have to first be able to say there's something
I
wrong.
need healing. Exactly. What are you healing
Yeah.
from?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I really want that to be one of the focus and the driving force of my work, like allowing Black women to like have that space to being like, oof, let me just sit,
Mm.
or oof, I feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody sees me, she sees me, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I really want for my work, like when folks walk away from that to feel seen, you know. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna just take that in for a quick.
Mhm.
I need that for myself.
Mhm.
Y'all too,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And listen, it's selfish reasons too because it's like I'm
yeah.
doing it for myself too,
Yes. Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm doing it for myself too.
Yeah.
It would be foolish for me to even try to do this work where it's not connecting to me somehow. Like
Absolutely.
that's pointless,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. So, your work seems to be influenced by spirituality, African
Mhm.
culture. Can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that
So,
connection?
yeah, yeah. I am so a lot of my process is research. I'm a nerd. Like I'm a bibliophile. Like I'm a collector of books. I love books. I love to read. I love to research. So, really diving into, I've always been intrigued by cosmology of African religions and like the stories that are connected to the various cosmologies and the spiritualities. And if I am considering myself also a storyteller through my work, then it's only right to kind of research the ancient storytellers and how they did it. You know what I mean? So trying to figure out how our ancestors did it and then have them inspire how I do it. Like you have to research that. You have to tap into that. And again, if I'm trying to also get rid of the stigma that's connected to African religions, right? So if we're talking about Yoruba being the birth mother of Santeria, Voodoo, you know, Candomblé, Hoodoo in America, so how can we dispel this like stigma around these religions that are connected to us, that gave birth to us? So I really want to kind of use my work to reactivate that memory within ourselves and be like, hey, this is a part of our legacy. Like this is what we do. Ritual is something that we all do. Like brushing your
Mm-hmm.
teeth is a ritual. You do that every day at the same time. You use the same toothbrush. Well, you switch it up, I hope. Same
Yeah.
toothpaste. You know what I mean? So it's like that is a ritual. What are you telling yourself while you brush your teeth? Like what do you tell yourself while you washing your face? Like all of these rituals and kind of like furthering these practices and helping us realize that these rituals get us through. These rituals got our people. So how can we reactivate how we use these rituals and spiritualities to get us through hard
Mm-hmm.
times, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you feel is missing in the conversation between access, healing, and art?
Oof. Accessibility. I mean, we go through this all the time. Like folks
Mm-hmm.
really still feel like art is only accessible to a certain group of people. And I really just want to get rid of that. Like art needs to be accessible to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And if art is a tool that can get us closer to healing, then we all need access to that. You know what I mean? I feel like art and healing go together. So if our communities, if Black folks can have access to that art that provides the healing, then that's the formula. That's we don't won the game. You know what I mean? I just feel like, if art is again the reflector of life, like art is life, art imitates life, right? Then we all have access, we all need access to that. Just like we
Mm-hmm.
all need access to happiness, joy, you know what I mean? Resources that we can be our better selves. So I think if art is used for that, then we need access to that,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially for our community. Like,
Yep.
we just don't get me I'm gonna leave that alone because I was just gonna go into this whole idea of like how I feel like institutions should be free. Like we
Mm-hmm.
all should have access to artistic institutions. Like there's no reason why we have to pay, in my opinion, to museums or to theaters or to, like I feel like those things should be the gathering place for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. So how
Mm-hmm.
can we all have access to that? You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it's
We
really
have,
important.
yeah.
In the
Tia,
West, they perform rituals, but Africans have ritualized life itself. Yeah, yeah, it's a part of life. Like I said, like brushing your teeth, making your tea in the morning, making your coffee in the morning. You might use the same mug, but that gets you through. It
mm-hmm.
makes you make sense of your life. You know what I mean? It makes you think about the day to day and the importance of that day to day, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we, like I said, as a people, as a person, reactivate that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because these rituals, no matter what, like we can say it was brouhaha or whatever, but this is what gets folks through their life.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, folks praying hard on letting their son go to college, doing a ritual or lighting a candle for prosperity for their son or daughter to go. Like those are things that got us through, and they continue to get us through. So why not have that
Mm-hmm.
a part of how we live our life? You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
preparing food,
Yeah.
preparing food for yourself, sitting down having food, sharing food with your loved ones. Like those are all rituals. We do those things. They're a part of our life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's no difference. I don't think.
Yeah. And then, bringing it into, there's also part of our culture that we as Black people, African diaspora was taken from us, and
Yeah,
why do we feel so negative towards these things,
that part. That part. And
Yeah.
that's again, that's a part of the reactivation because we've been detached, we've been removed from that. We've been fed that it's a stigma, that it's dark magic. We've
Mm-hmm.
been fed that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's light and dark magic in all religions. We can say the same thing about Christianity. Come on. You know what I mean? We can say the same thing about Catholicism. There's always a
Mm-hmm.
negative and a positive. You know what I mean? But it's what you decide. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's what you decide for to inform your life. You know what I mean? So it's definitely like again thinking about legacy and reconnecting us back to our history also
Mm-hmm.
because we have been fed that it's that's that over there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they do that over there, you
Mm-hmm.
do that here, we do this
Mm-hmm.
here,
Yeah.
meaning
Yeah.
like in America, you know, and if you do that here, then that is oof. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's everywhere. I think when we
Mm-hmm.
were talking, preparing for the, catching up and stuff, and I said I had this Yoruba priest who mentioned about a
Yeah,
sacrifice. Someone was like, "Wait, a sacrifice?" I'm like, "You do
right,
know there's the Bible too, right?"
right, that part, that part,
We just
yeah,
are made to make our sacrifices feel bad, but there's
right,
the Bible. Every other religion has it, and it's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, it's great.
There's all these tropes. It's all these tropes that we want to put on certain things. Like there's all these,
Mhm.
you know, like I said, stigmas that we want to put on the African centered religions versus all of the
Mhm.
others, you know? So it's just, yeah,
Mhm.
it's our duty to get back to that.
Absolutely, I agree
Yeah,
with you. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Have you ever had to overcome any challenges as a Black artist, as a woman, as a mother, and practicing artist?
What, what time is it? Do we have time?
We got time.
Oh,
It's our
yeah.
network. It's our time.
Yeah. I mean, I think every day, you know, until the game changes, like the art world here in Miami is this big. And then the black art world is even smaller. So, you know what I mean? Like there's this idea in the art world that there's only room for one, right? There's only room for one black artist, and it's usually a black male artist. So, you know, having to kind of fight through that. And like I said, like if we're not being listened to and we're seen invisible in everyday spaces, can you imagine what it's like in a smaller, you know, microcosm being the art world?
Mhm.
We can chop up these stories all day, Nikki. You know you you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and I think that the beauty about, you know, what you do and what I think I do is carving our own space.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing that, okay, all right, well, I'll just carve my own space, you
Yeah.
know, and create that space for myself and others. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because it's there's always going until, like I said, until the game changes, there's always going to be um this strife in the microcosm, right? In the ecosystem, unfortunately, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So just claiming all of the space, like, you know, kicking in the door sometimes when I have to. And I'm that person that like once I get the door open, I'm like jamming that mofo like open. Like I'm taking it off the hinge and I'm just like, come on, y'all. Come on,
Yeah.
y'all. Like, come on,
Absolutely.
everybody. You know what I mean? And just keep carving the space for ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got a whole list of of
Things.
things that I could talk about. But I think that what I've learned from those things, right? Especially in the institutions, right? In art school, You know, being that only Black girl in entire, it was in college, in the art program, there were three of us, three Black women. And then we were all in different kind of focal points. So we never were in classes together, ever.
Mm.
Three, the entire art department. And
Mm.
then I have never had a Black art teacher ever in my entire creative development.
Oh,
Entire, ever.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
A Black woman, forget about it. But yeah, so those types of things. So when I was teaching, I didn't realize the importance of the fact that I was the first Black woman to teach at that institution in the program
Mm.
until I left. And having young people being like, coming up to me later on, like, I was looking forward to having you. Like, you don't
Mm.
understand what it was like to have you just in that building. So, like,
Mm.
reflecting back, like, I realized that, wow, so all of those things that I needed to hear back then, like, I needed to be that for those young people to this day. Even though I'm not in the classroom, all of the young people that I work with, all the things that I needed to hear, I try to, or needed, I try to be that for these young people
Mm.
because it's important
It's so important.
to
Yeah.
be in that space. So saying all of that is like, once I get in these spaces, like, I'm claiming all of the space, and you're gonna have
Mm.
to drag me out because once I'm in there, I'm taking over it and like
Mm-hmm.
really claiming the state, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I belong there, and I need to be there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Neri has a question. How can we best support your work so that it's less and less of a problem for you?
I think it's not so much that it is a problem. I mean, you can cash at me, Neri. I mean, I'll put my cash app. But just, I think it's also showing up for
Mm-hmm.
folks. You know, I really am in a place where, as far as like my work goes, it's not so much about selling work for me at this point, but it's definitely about me gaining opportunities where folks support me so I can continue to do my work. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whether that's in the grant form or arts organization support form, like, I just want to be able to continue to be supported so I can keep doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know what I mean? So that could, yeah, like I said, that could be grants. You know, I've been really lucky to be receiving a lot of like grants right now and like awards. So that feels good to kind of be able to, like I said, it's not so much about having to be out in the market and thinking about, like, selling work, but again, having people see what you do and have my work speak enough to them that they're on board to support me in some kind of way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in that, it's not, buying a piece of art. Yes, absolutely. But then I think the type of art that we have,
It's hard to
it's
put a stamp on it. It's hard to put a yeah.
yeah, put a
Yeah.
price on it. And then
Yeah.
who's taking that piece home, to
Right. Because I'm
have
not,
that.
listen, everybody can't have access to me that way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody shouldn't have access. I know who my audience is. I know
Mm-hmm.
who I'm speaking to. Therefore, if I am to commission some sort of work, I still need to be in control of who's receiving that work.
Mm. Yes. Yeah.
I'm not for everybody having access to me that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as an artist and as a Black woman, I have that right
Yeah.
to claim that,
Mm-hmm.
because my work is an extension of me. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
who am I giving that extension of myself to?
Mm. Yeah. Being that intentional. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta be. I have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be,
Mm-hmm.
and, I think that And it's hard, right? Because like as artists, like we out here on the ground and we trying to live. So it's like
Mhm.
when we are approached by folks that are trying to buy our work, it's a hard place to be in. But I think that we always find our tribe. And
Mhm.
if you're intentional in your work and you stay true to that intention, then folks will follow. Those
Mhm.
folks will find you. Those folks
Mhm.
will support you, you
Mhm.
know? So,
And I want to like throw out there too. Some of them we mentioned. A lot of artists. We have Cash App. We need
mhm,
grants. We need to be
mhm,
introduced to people that have funding and are looking for that work. Because sometimes, especially when you talk about being a woman, being a Black woman, being
yeah,
a mother, we don't have those opportunities. They go
right,
to more white male,
yep,
certain type of people, certain trending things.
right,
So people who do the type of work that you do, the type of work
right,
that we do, we need those connections to the
yeah,
people who have the dollars
yeah,
to support that work
yeah,
to, come out. When we have something, come
yeah,
support it. When we post
yep,
something on Facebook, Instagram,
yeah,
website, blog, share it. That's
yeah,
so free. That's free
yep.
99.
That's
Share.
free 99 plus tax.
Plus tax, right?
Yeah,
Because the power with that is that when we share something that we feel strongly about, even if we cannot physically drive to Miami to see your show, someone in our network could.
yep,
Someone in our
but
network might be like, "Oh, I didn't even know this," and now get introduced to Lonnie
that's right.
Johnson and her work, and
That's right.
like, oh, and for someone, and that's how the dice roll.
Yep,
So sharing is caring,
yes,
that's simple.
yep,
Share it, support, show up,
yep.
you know.
And connectivity too, Nikki, is like, being involved in the community. And that's why I'm going to go back to that question about why is it important to be a community advocate? Because if you're trying to, just like what we're saying, if we're trying to, and not to say that we're building connection just to get these coins, but like people, the type of work that we do, people are not going to know about us if we're not also out in the community talking about the work, talking with people about the work, just talking with people and collecting stories. Because if we're talking about art being this way of being the voice, then how are we gaining the voice? How are we getting the stories? So we got to be out here in these streets too. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? So a lot of times in the past like year or two, the opportunities that have come to me has been based on like my rapport that I have built with folks through the work, not just
mhm,
about the work, but because they knew me from, oh, she's contracted at Pam doing the art detectives program. Oh, she runs that youth arts program at that mental health facility. Oh, she also works with Girl Power. You know what I mean? Oh, she also does, you know what I mean? So it's like all of these other things that I'm kind of rooted in the community and informs and supports and catapults the work too. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So it's like, how else are you being intentional in your involvement in the community that also informs the work too?
mhm,
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, for me, I feel like all of the stuff that I do, 5011 jobs that I do have, is informing my practice too.
mhm,
So it's all connected. Like we were talking about on the phone, our rehearsal, this whole idea of like social practice. Like, I really think that you and I can really say that we are social practice artists because
mhm,
everything we do is
mhm.
redirected somehow back into our personal practice. So it's all
Ab-
connected, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
important. It's important. You got to be intentional. You can't just be out here willy nilly. You
Mm-mm.
can't. We're too old for that. We're too old for that. And you shouldn't be as an artist. Like, you got to know why you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real.
Yeah. Especially because it's definitely not something that is glamorous and trending, and you
Right.
know there's I mean, we're passionate, you're passionate about what you do, but there's
Hmm.
also a sense of responsibility and the anxieties and all those things that come with that, the stress, the whatever have you. Now, I wouldn't trade that for anything else. But if you don't have those intentions there, then why are you putting yourself
right?
through
Why
that?
are you doing this? You know, why are you going through this? Right, right.
Yeah, because you have days where everyone's praising you and they get it, like, oh, I know what that's about. Here's this, here's this, here's the, and then there's days you're just like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I don't care. Thank you, that one person who's listening to me.
Yep. All the way in the back. Thank you.
All the way in the back. Why don't you just pull up your chair here? It's only two of us. And
Yeah.
you're gonna
right. Yeah.
You know, and so that intentions, and if you're about trend, you're not going to want to talk to that one person, right? It has to be this multitude of things. So you have to have that intention.
But you know what, Nikki, even with this idea of like, if you about the trend, right? Keep it 100 and say you about the trend. Like, don't say that you about intention if you're not about attention. Because I'm gonna give you more respect that if you saying, listen, I'm going with this wave right now, this is where the coins are. I'm like, girl, get it. Like, do that. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of times folks want to, especially right now in the climate, you know, with this this racial reckoning that's happening in the world. Ooh, that word, that phrase. But it's like a lot of people, it kind of makes me feel some kind of way because I'm like, yo, we've been out here. Welcome to the party, folks. That's how I feel. Just like, ooh, okay. Welcome. We've been out here, you know, and I think that I have more respect for somebody being like, you know what, this is what I want to do right now. This is in vogue. Let me do it. And then I'll be like, you know what, sis, fam, bruh, do it. But I'd much rather you be, I'd rather you, over there. I'd rather you be upfront and honest and transparent than out here fronting and sucking up resources for folks like us that are actually really doing this.
Absolutely. I definitely would respect when people are like, hey, I just, you know, it's trending, I'm trying to get on it. Because then it's just like, because you take away, because then, you know, you're getting back to access, right? The people, unfortunately, who are, you know, the ones in the trenches, in the community doing this, whether it's a party of 1 or 5 or 10 or 20, you know, we don't have those access. And you have people come in on a trend because they have, you know, they got connections to this and that, and they throw in the little glitter on there, and then it takes away from the opportunities that people who are already doing it. So it's just like, you know, say you're doing it for that reason. There's still going to be people that come follow you, but it also don't take away from that. And I can respect you from afar.
From over there.
From over there.
Right.
Because, you know, you get somebody like, oh, yeah, they're about it. And then you're like, oh, really? No.
You're not. Right. I can stand that. And then folks that like kind of just position themselves and kind of like just prop themselves up around folk just to see if they can get the opportunities, like sucking up free liquor and opportunities in events and in spaces, you know what I mean? Like, it drives me nuts. That drives me nuts. That is one of the problems, Miri. Like, this idea of like just folks not truly invested in this thing. And again, I'm not saying that you had to go to art school because like that's neither here nor there. But you have to have a solid practice in order for you to identify in this art thing. You have had to put in your time. You have had to develop some sort of practice in order for you to identify as an artist. I really do believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. And what is your intention in these things that you're making? What is your goal? What are you trying to say? What moves you to do this? Why are you doing this? There has to be a why. What is your why? And I think a lot of times folks don't have it. They don't have a why. They just do. They just do.
Jamie saying that part in surface deep.
Surface deep. Yeah. These internet activists, it drives me nuts. And again, just sucking up resources. Like it's and ooh, see, you done got me on the And
Getting
I
a little
think, yeah, it's getting a little hot because I think that Miami, I think South Florida, we enable it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me
Absolutely.
tell you something, that shit ain't happening in New York. Like, you ain't gonna fake the funk in New York. They gonna see right through you.
Mm-hmm.
We enable it here in South Florida
Mm-hmm.
because we have a hard time allowing home team, like folks that's from here, to have their shine. We
Mm-hmm.
much rather let the transplants, the folks that they're kind of helicopter in, have the opportunity instead of us embracing those that are homegrown. We have a hard time with that, especially in the art world. We much rather have somebody come from over there and give them some shine versus
Mm.
the folks that are already been out here and giving them that shine.
That's
You know.
something. Oh man, you are touching a nerve tonight because like
Mhm.
I've gone to some things and it's
Mhm.
funded and it's ritzy, and then I'm sitting there and you got some vocalist that's flown in from Iowa somewhere, and I'm like, I have 10 singers that I could call up right now and blow this out the water, and they home not with nothing to do, and you have someone that you flew in, paid transportation, paid food, paid lodging, all this stuff.
Listen, or what kills me, Nikki, this is what kills me. And again, there is beauty in us being able to kind of infuse all of the arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it burns my biscuits these days that these folks that just kind of staggered on into the art world, like, oh, I want to be an artist. Just staggered on in. And I'm just like, where did you come from? What's your
Mm-hmm.
practice? Why are you doing this? Is it
Mm-hmm.
because it's in trend? Do you feel like this is and this is what really burns it is I think that because what we do is so subjective that folks easily think, oh, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I incorporate movement and dance in my work, but I by no means consider myself a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Because I know what it takes, the years and years of developing your practice in order for you to even consider yourself a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So how we label ourselves, and not to say that we got to get caught up in these labels, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get what I'm saying twisted. What I'm saying is the investment of the development of your practice has to
Mm-hmm.
be intentional in order for you to kind of nominate or say that you are an artist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we just give people too quick of a pass here. We
Mm-hmm.
do. We too
Mm-hmm.
nice about it. We too
Yeah.
loose. We too loose with who we let. Oh, okay, yeah, come on. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
get this grant? Yes, come on.
Mm-hmm. Jamie said, so on point about the transplant.
Yes, I want all of them to just. I want an exodus of them back to wherever the hell they came from. I'm so serious.
Yeah.
I'm so serious.
We have narrative. But that's about the community not understanding the beauty of what is under their noses. We need to
Mhm.
be afraid to educate adults. Yeah, we need not to be afraid to educate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, but Neri says sometimes it's beyond our reach because grown folks sometimes they be too far gone.
Yeah.
Like I'm willing to have grace, and maybe this is like my petty coming out. I'm willing to have grace for young people. I'll even give you up to 25. Okay. But after 25, Nikki, like I don't know, like I feel like after 25, you use a whole grown person. And I can't my patience for the foolishness is a little shorter than at that point. You
It's a
know,
short
so
nails.
yeah. It's a little my threshold for that is short,
Yeah.
you know. But there
Mhm.
is something to yes, Neri,
Mm.
not afraid to educate adults, but adults also have to be willing to receive it. Because
Mm.
again, like folks come in and they kick the door down and they're not even trying to kind of ease into the room or ease
Mhm.
into the space. Like they come in like, I
Mhm.
know, you know. So there is a need for us to kind of create that space too. Like, okay, wait a minute now. Hold on, young chopper, young whippersnapper. Like, I've been around these parts for a long time. Like, come on, let me show you how. Let me show you how, And that's no shade,
Yeah.
I think this idea of like mentorship and sharing experience, like this shared experience, like there's something to that. I love learning from people. I love learning from people and finding that shared experience,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How do you balance between being
You got me all hot, Nikki.
I know it. But, that's what it's there for. Hopefully inspire some people who are under 25. Y'all got some point. Y'all got free game.
Yeah. But also too, Nikki, like I think because Shari and I talk about this a lot. Artists need to be talking to other artists. We need to be talking to each other.
Yes.
Things like this, Nikki, is amazing because we need to be talking to each other. Because these collectors, these curators, these archivists, like they're all talking to each other about us, but we're not talking to each other about each other. You know what I mean? So we need to be in conversation with one another, and not in competition with one another. Like, yes,
Absolutely.
this is a dirty game or what. It doesn't have to be. We need to be talking to one another. We do.
Yeah, because that's where, like you said, it doesn't have to be competition. Even someone who's supposed to be your competition, you could introduce collaboration. That's even more powerful, right?
Yep.
We're doing the same thing. Guess what? We're going to unite on this, and that's how you build community. Like, I mean, we've seen each other in past, and I think Spoken Soul might have been before. I don't know. I think around Spoken Soul.
Yeah, it was.
Might have been connected with Deborah Magdalena. Give her a little shout out, Diosa.
Yes.
But we see each other and stuff like that. But then it's like when we talk, we're like, oh my God, we're kind of on the same paths and share similar things. Like I was sharing with you, like I'm doing something, and another artist friend that I met years ago, further along, he was like, that's a social practice. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, let me add that. Then you're like, oh yeah, me too. So we get to. We get to share, we get to flesh out things, we get to explore, we get to have feedback. So it's extremely important for us to build those things. And, regardless of how the world or how these organizations and nonprofits and institutions want to pit us against each other, we have to be like, no, y'all not doing this.
Because you know what? On the other side of that, Nikki, yes, and they have nothing without us.
Yep.
There are no museums. There are no art organizations. There are no, you know what I mean? They need us. So I also think that we need to begin to stand firm in that too. It's like, we have a value. You need us. There's no curating if you ain't got shit curate.
Yeah.
There is no installing if you have no work to install. So it's like we also have to ground ourselves in that too, and really know our value, know our worth. Like, hey, like what I do is valuable. I am needed in this society. I'm needed in this world. So don't forget that.
Absolutely. How do you balance between being an educator, a mother, and activist?
Support systems. My family, my parents, my friends, we take care of each other. I sometimes I don't know what I would do without my folks, whether they blood related or not. Like my circle is really close. It's tight. I've known my people, like my friends, for almost 30 years now, and we've seen each other grow. And to see each other, grow within this art world and us doing our thing, it's really important and exciting to see. And, like I said, supporting each other, like, hey, I need you to go pick up my children, or can you watch my baby for a few minutes, or can I just stop by to talk? I need a break. Or, with my parents, like me, with the 5011 jobs and like traveling to this place and traveling to that place, like it's support systems. You gotta have them. You gotta have them. If I did not have them, Nikki, I don't know how I would do half of this shit. Honestly. And you know it, like you gotta have those people, because this thing is hard. Ain't no manual to be an artist, and it damn sure ain't no manual to be a mama. So it's like we growing up together, like we figuring this thing out together, baby. You know, so just having that support is so valuable. So valuable. You know, for real. Yeah.
What's one thing people may not know about you that you're comfortable sharing?
That sometimes I get nervous talking in front of people. Sometimes I don't want to talk to people, even though I'm very like loquacious and kind of like loud in my, because I have a big spirit. But sometimes I want to just. Sometimes I like being by myself a little more than people think. I like being by myself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Loni, this is so awesome to have you.
I'm so happy that if it's full circle, it always happens when it needs to happen, you know?
Yeah. How can people connect to you if they want to find out your exhibitions or performances?
So definitely social media. I'm more of a Instagram girl. So Loni J305 on IG. So I definitely will be posting. I have an upcoming installation at Locust Projects opening up in September. I will be going to Norway for the Heat Exchange artist exchange program that Bass Fisher Invitational created. So 3 artists from Norway are actually here right now staying at the Fountainhead residency. And then 3 artists from Miami, myself included, will be going to Norway in October. So I posted about that. I'll be reposting about that. And so Instagram. And then, you know, if you know me, you got my phone number. So hit your girl up.
But oh, man. I have to give a shout out to May Rain. We were just talking about
look at that
on your page. Hey, the poet and self-care products, you know, Moonflower. Yes. So we were just talking about May Rain posting about, you know, to get to healing, you gotta say you hurt first.
Yeah. You gotta be like, ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Verbalizing it. Ouch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But again, you know, Black ladies, we ain't that we gotta do it all. We gotta, you know, we gotta suck it up. You know, that we don't feel pain, or we shouldn't. You know, that's a vulnerability of weakness, we've been told, you know. So we finna get rid of all of that. We working on that. We working on getting rid of all of that crud, because it's bullshit. You know. Yeah. Absolutely. Giving ourselves permission.
Yeah, there's something you said a little earlier, and I relate to that, because that's kind of like been my mantra this year, like working on being unapologetically myself, taking up as much space. Even if I'm not comfortable, I'm like, no, I need to take this up for me. I need to take this up for some little Black girl somewhere else, some little kid that's saying, can I do this? Yes, you can. Let me hold it.
Yeah. But you know what, Nikki? I spent way too much, and you probably could testify to this too. Like, I spend way too much of my life just not allowing myself to be my full self. I spent way too much time in my life just being way too concerned about what other people thought of me and what other people thought I should be. And I refuse to do that to myself anymore, because it was traumatic. It was detrimental to my spirit and my mind. So I refuse to allow it anymore. So you either finna take all of this or not. It's like, you know, take all of it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the right people who can handle that is going to come in, and the ones who can't, they're going to remove themselves and make space.
Yep. Do me
So,
a favor. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Move out of the way. Yep.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Oh man, it was such an honor and a pleasure to have you here to share
Thank
some
you.
of your work, to learn some more things about you, to share what you do with the world is so important.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're welcome. Definitely safe travels on your international art residency
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah. No, we
That's
gonna see each other before that, lady.
okay. Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. I'm calling you
Oh,
out.
yes.
We gonna see each other before that.
Oh man, you called me out. Yes.
Yes, I did.
I will wait. When are you going?
That's October.
Okay.
We got
Okay.
time.
We got
We got
time.
time.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we got time.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You should just plan to come to the opening in September. Definitely.
okay.
Do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Try to do that. But yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Yes.
thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to chop it up with you and to
Yes.
hold space with you. And this is incredible. And I hope that this can continue forever because this is
Yes.
it's needed. It's needed.
Mhm.
It
Absolutely.
really is. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And those for if you are online, I'm starting to remove the 9 o'clock because it don't happen and it's fine, But this is our channel. This is where I want to have my friends, my colleagues, people I know and people I'm learning about. We need this space to talk about what we do.
Right.
So I am so grateful for those who, even though it's supposed to be a 30-minute show, y'all stay on and y'all rock with us the whole time because
we appreciate you. We appreciate you.
And even sometimes when we get the opportunities to talk, it's just like, what's the event? What's the login? What's your social? Bye.
Right.
So we don't have that space. So I'm just really grateful. We're going to start at 8:30 Eastern time, but sometimes we go over and it's just, it's all love. It's just sharing the work, connecting, giving people the opportunity to add their questions and their comments. So definitely, I'm just so grateful for everyone who is watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, those who are watching it in the groups on Periscope,
Right.
and those who watch it on the replay. Please consider sharing this. Like, Neri was like, how do we support, right? How do, something free. Take that link, click share, copy that link, paste it in, throw it out into your social media, throw it out into your email list,
Right.
Whether you're
follow
an
me
artist,
on Instagram. Yes.
follow on Instagram.
Yes.
That's how we get the word out. That's how we connect. That's how we build community. That's how we amplify the work that we do in the community, locally, internationally, nationally. You could be a part of that by just sharing this video, sharing the podcast when it comes out. So grateful for it. Loni is on Instagram. We've got the ticker and it's also in the comments. If you go to Instagram, Loni J305, and you could follow her work. The Circle is brought to you by Niki Lopez Creative and What's Your Elephant. What's Your Elephant is a movement that uses the arts to talk about anything unspoken. And so there's going to be, I'm a little crazy. I got 2 series coming out. So there's going to be a What's Your Elephant series centered on some of the elephants within the LGBTQA communities. I'm also partnering with the LA Lee YMCA, and we have funding from the Community Foundation of Broward for the Art of Justice series. It is starting this Thursday. So there's going to be several art making workshops, discussions, community dialogue, and then showcasing of that work. And we're going to be bringing in different artists to lead that conversation. Alana DaCosta and myself will be leading an art making workshop and discussion about access. We also have the support from Sue Gallagher, who also does this work. And, we invite you. There's a link. If you go to what'syourelephant.org, you'll see the RSVP. The Y is not fully built yet. So we're going to be virtual, which helps us to, you don't have to travel, right? You just click on the
Right.
link. So if you want to, click on the link, RSVP, join us, whether you want to participate in the conversation, you want to create a piece of art, it will be showcased on a virtual exhibition and then culminates at the beginning of next year. So that is the Art of Justice series. It is starting this Thursday, July 22nd. So definitely look for that. Loni, follow her on Instagram. She has some shows coming up. Send her some well wishes when she's going to be traveling.
Yes, for sure.
So,
For sure.
Any final words? Any closing?
Just be intentional, and like you said, work on being your best and authentic and unapologetically you self every day.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely.
And claim all the space. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. So good night, everyone, and good morning whenever you see this. We'll see you again the first and third Tuesday of the month. So we'll be seeing you in August. And thank you all for joining me. Thanks again, Loni. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Nikki. You too.
All right. Take care.
Take care.